I am at the prestigious Raman Research Institute in Bangalore, and in my hand I hold the prestigious Nobel medal which Dr. C.V. Raman got in 1930. On this episode of Life and Science with Pallava Bagla, it's all about learning the opportunities from one of India's role models, Dr. Kasturirangan. A man with many avatars who's shaping India's destiny. A scientist, chairman of the Indian Space Research Organization, where he pioneered the Chandrayaan 1 mission and many other prestigious missions, to now having made the education policy and formulating the new curriculum framework. This episode, with this Nobel medal in my hand, is all about the promise of future. A new India where Nobel Prizes in science should be common. Shaping the country's destiny, rewriting history. All of this comes bundled with the persona of Dr. Kasturirangan. Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar, nice to meet you, Pallava, for a long time.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Kasturirangan was chairman of the Indian Space Research Organization when he took India and the Indian Space Research Organization on its maiden voyage to the moon through Chandrayaan 1. Today, he is shaping the history of India's children, having drafted the education policy and the new curriculum framework. So much comes with you, Dr. Kasturirangan. Tell me a little significance of the tree behind us and the place where we are standing.
You know, this is a historic place from the origins of science in India in the recent past after independence. This is an institute conceived and built by none other than the India's only Nobel laureate in physics, Sir C.V. Raman.
What is the significance of this beautiful tree we see here?
That's even more emotional and memorable in terms of its existence here. You know, Raman liked the environment here. It's beautiful, and he always loved to move around this campus. So he resolved that when he finally passes away, his body should be also cremated in the same campus. And that is the place where you see the root of the tree where his body was cremated, so ashes are scattered there. And a tree was planted at that time, I think it is in November 1970.
Not many scientists dare to write about their professional voyage of life. Dr. Kasturirangan is special. He has penned in a book what his voyage has been in the last 81 years. How has the journey been, Dr. Rangan?
Well, if you ask me and if you ask my personal experience, it has been very eventful. It has been very, very challenging. And most importantly, I feel very nostalgic about the whole experience because I think this country gave me an opportunity to do things for those who have the necessary confidence in themselves and also the confidence in this country and its future. I think the opportunities are many, many and unlimited. And this book, in a sense, is a symbol of that aspiration being fulfilled by an ordinary Indian. I had nothing very special about me, either in the birth or in the growth or in the family background. But I am what I am only because I am an Indian, and the right people note you at the right time and place you at the right point. And that's what has happened. This book is a symbol of that.
Taking cue from the book, let's now go inside the Raman Research Institute and talk about Dr. Kasturirangan's professional voyage in space, and also look at the Nobel medallion and talk about India's education policy and how it will shape India's future. Let's go. In Dr. Kasturirangan's long voyage, there have been many highlights, but one of them is a defining time when he was chairman of the Indian Space Research Organization, a true jewel in the crown of India. Dr. Kasturirangan, how was it like to be chairman of ISRO? You started off very early, almost at the bottom in ISRO, and to become chairman. As chairman, what were the defining things you did? And you had so many.
Yeah, that's really something which I can really say with pride. First of all, I should say that in those years, they made me a chairman at the age of 52 years. So I think it gave me enough time, even if the service is up to 60, to do what you want and give enough time to see things happening which you have started or which others have started. This is one thing. The PSLV was in the final stage.
Which is the Polar Satellite Launch
Polar
Vehicle.
Satellite, which has become today the workhorse. So I had the very important and pleasant duty of putting it in an operational state, which I could go to. The very first flight that we conducted at the time I took over as chairman was a success. And from then onwards, PSLV has never looked back. And we applied rigorous rules regarding how to enforce quality, reliability and things like that. Then came the question of a GSLV. GSLV we also…
Which is the geostationary
satellite launch vehicle to put geosynchronous satellites into geosynchronous transfer orbit, a heavier vehicle, a new configuration, and we were in the final stages of getting it into position. So during my time, I did 2 experimental flights. The first had an anomalous start, but within 3 weeks, we not only identified it but flew successfully.
I was on the launch pad.
Oh, it was nice.
When exactly a few seconds before liftoff.
That is one of the remarkable feature that is built as a failure mode into the GSLV. We worked very hard on the GSLV Mark III. We wanted a photon satellite. We completed the design part of it and also the development in some stage. I think that is the time in which I left it, so didn't have it.
Simple vehicle, that's why they now call it the Bahubali.
Absolutely, you are right. And then a series of remote sensing satellites, taking right down to 1 meter, we operationalized it. So we had one of the best constellation of remote sensing satellites in optical, microwave, infrared, and also in these wavelengths. So one of the few countries which had multiplicity of wavelengths and multiplicity of other capabilities for a comprehensive remote sensing program. India had one of the largest constellation in the civilian domain. Then of course came the questions of areas like ocean. We had a very nice ocean satellite with things like ocean color monitor and things, scatterometers and we started developing that.
One particular mission
Yeah.
which has your full signature on it is India's maiden mission to the moon. You took Indian Space Research Organization, which was hovering in the gravity of Earth, outside Earth's gravity to the moon.
Yeah, that's a nice way of…
Chandrayaan 1, which later got christened as Chandrayaan 1.
Yeah.
How did you do such an audacious thinking?
I think in the life of a chairman, he has to be on the lookout for, on one side, always a relevance to the country in terms of socio-economic and other considerations, strategic and so on. And the other side, there is this what is called as a public interest and public excitement. They need to go together. Ultimately, when I pay my tax, and if I am not interested in my doing of remote sensing and communication, I would like to see something happening, and science is always an exciting field. So I find that ISRO has now the capability of a PSLV, GSLV and satellites like IRS and so on. We have the ability to build spacecrafts which can go to planetary systems. We did an analysis of all that, and that is the one that I presented in Delhi on the Pokhran 2 day, and I remember you, Pallav, very distinctly because of a very interesting observation you made. I said this proposal will take 4 years in planning and 4 years in implementation. So this is roughly the time frame. You caught those schedules, you reported it properly, and the first of the Chandrayaan did go according to the date that you published in the paper.
Thank you, sir.
So I remember you for this kind of accurate and reporting, which is also understanding the subtle nuances. I just want to say this here because it's a long period since this has happened, but I think it still weighs in my mind as a significant observation by one of the key correspondents who was present in that, and that's you. The other part of it is the question of international cooperation. We got a lot of 5, 6 instruments came from outside. That shows the importance of this. And lastly, there is plenty of problems with the moon, even though has been visited by Soviet Union and Russia and America. There are the fundamental questions of how the moon came, how it originated, how it evolved was still this thing. And the moon has stopped its evolution after 2 billion years. So you have a pristine object there in space who has not evolved later, whereas Earth has evolved. Other planetary systems have evolved. So if you want to sample something which has not evolved and therefore it gives you a history 2 billion years back, that is the object you should go. So that is another kind of a thing. And lastly, water. There is always this question that tomorrow if you want to really exploit the moon and use it as a platform for other missions, you need water, you need oxygen. And that is something which everybody was searching. It was what you are searching a holy grail, you will say. And that is where we hit the jackpot. And so the entire process of a planetary exploration has caught the imagination of India, caught the imagination of international community, and has very, very significantly contributed to the science. That is very important for us. It doesn't matter whether it's the first mission or second mission, there's no experimental mission in the scientific aspects. It has to produce science. And this is true of the astrosat. I think the other part of it where we started the one more astrosat.
Correct. Let me ask you, Dr. Kasturirangan, what was your personal feeling? Because the moon was considered a parched object. Chandrayaan 1, which you conceived and gave India and took India to the moon, gave the first signatures of the presence of water molecules. You rewrote the history of how moon is understood.
I think it's a good way of looking at it. Of course, there are a lot of scientists who were a part of thinking about water and how to get it to the bottom. But the fact that moon has one portion of its side which is not at all exposed to the sun, and because it likes a shuttlecock in a shuttle game. Only one side is because of gravitational attraction. Yeah, correct. So you have one side facing the earth, the other side is always, so it doesn't face the moon. So there are comets and many other objects which fall on the moon. They carry hydrogen and oxygen and so on. When they don't evaporate because the temperature is very low there. So over 2-3 billion years, continuously comets and asteroids and many others have been depositing water or water-like molecules into that area, and there was no question of escaping. So it should have already created a condition for water formation, and that is why there is so much of interest going to South Pole and so on and so forth, and that will be the future of such explorations. But the Indian scientists certainly had a feel of the fact that this should be explored and water should be an important center, the thing, even though topography, mineralogy and craterology, all that were studied. Yes. But water to me is still central in terms of what it could do for them.
While we are talking of space, the Prime Minister Modi-led government is putting a lot of emphasis on human space flight. As chairman of ISRO, when you were there, you also thought about human space flight. But beyond this, is it a good idea for India to send Indian astronauts in space from Indian soil on Indian rockets?
You know, one thing about the governments, I want to say, whether it is Vajpayee, I discussed this question, then Modi ji now, they were people with a much long-term view than what we scientists will think, whether it is necessary, whether it is, these questions doesn't have to come. They are visionaries. He said, wow, India cannot do just one mission. We need a series. So he was already looking at it as the direction. Modi ji has a vision that Indians should be a part of a global space adventure. We should move over to the outside of the Earth's gravity, move toward different locations in solar system. He cannot visualize a settlement in space where Indians are absent. Because his whole blood boils if Indians are not going to be there around when other countries are going to occupy. He has to give the initial thrust. So Gaganyaan is the first thrust towards it. Yes, maybe we may not do it as fast as some other countries, but he knows where to reach, how to reach, and how to give India that preeminent position by which we become a part of that international community who will go and occupy different locations in the solar system, explore it, exploit it, and enjoy visits much beyond what we are accustomed to in near Earth orbits.
So you'll be excited when the first astronaut goes into space from
I pray very much everything happens as we all aspire for.
In Dr. Kasturirangan's life, there have been many voyages and there have been many avatars. Let's go and talk about his avatar as a person who's shaping India's education and shaping the destiny of India's young people. Let's go. We are at the Raman Research Institute in a very special museum. Dr. Kasturirangan, what is the significance of this museum?
Well, this museum is one of the examples of the love that Raman had on the various facets of scientific phenomena. He liked a diamond because it's a very beautiful creation of nature about light scattering and things of that kind. He loved vision because vision is something where there is a lot of physics behind it. Biology and physics is in plenty, vision. And then he liked tabla and mridangam because it produces all kinds of notes and frequencies. So this is the laboratory where he collected and tried to create a place for his most lovable object the earth has bequeathed to him, and which is the diamonds. This is not only a place where you have diamonds, he had 600 and odd diamonds in his collection. In fact, there is a story that Mysore Maharaja gave him a full-fledged diamond necklace.
Wow.
Knowing his interest in diamond, and I'm sure, I understand each of these diamonds were studied, the light scattering characteristics were done, and the physics behind it in terms of the light scattering and the kind of phenomena that leads to reflection and refraction, drag reflection. These were all studied by him, and they were all published in the Academy of Sciences journal. So this is a laboratory of very beautiful samples of collection, cut diamonds, uncut diamonds, partially cut diamonds, and diamonds which have been studied in great detail to understand them. And here only one message to say: we want to really have a good diamond, make sure that it's properly cut and it is properly shaped and it has proper reflection characteristics. So he put down those criteria, and we want to really get an idea of what the genuine diamond is and how do you distinguish from the not genuine one. I think you should go to C.V. Raman. And this laboratory testifies to that. Apparently, wherever he goes, He simply dives into a geologically interesting area and starts picking up things. Very interesting in the way his inquisitiveness. Panna Diamonds area in Madhya Pradesh. He was exhaustively trying to see for this. And he had a geologist also with him to make sure that he understands the geology behind it. I think he had a remarkable breadth and width. You know, we talk of liberal education now. I think he is naturally inbuilt into him as an ability to look at multiple dimensions of a particular phenomenon.
If Nobel laureate Dr. C.V. Raman was cutting and shaping diamonds in the last century, in the 21st century, it is Dr. Krishnaswamy Kasturirangan who is shaping India's young diamonds. We will have a very special discussion with a very special object with Dr. Rangan in the next segment. In a very special institute, in a very special location, with a very special person. And in my hand, I hold one of India's rare treasures. This is the Nobel medallion which Dr. C.V. Raman got in 1930. And believe it or not, since 1930, India has not received another Nobel Prize in science. But things could change thanks to what Dr. Kasturirangan is doing. Dr. Kasturirangan, you have formulated India's education policy. How difficult or easy was it to formulate a policy for 1.3 billion Indians?
Well, first thing I should observe about your statement for showing the medallion and then saying about the national education policy, that you are setting an extremely high standard for the outcome of this education policy. I think it should be the ultimate goal. We have a larger issue to tackle. Well-educated, well-rounded individuals who can serve the needs of the 21st century. The policy that we have crafted is the one that addresses the questions of what kind of requirements are there in the 21st century, dynamic characteristics of the changes in the knowledge spectrum, and the way these changes have to be respected and appropriately responded by the people who do jobs or other kinds of endeavors, and make sure that this thus becomes a lifelong process of continuous updating of one's knowledge, adopt it, use it for jobs or other purposes. So the policy that we have enunciated as a part of the NEP 1920 is the one that addresses this fundamental issue, the dynamic nature of the knowledge spectrum. There are many areas, right from the school education, where we have made a change from 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 from the previous one, addressing also the developmental process of the brain, which is critical ultimately to get the best out of a youngster when you teach him. So the teaching learning process, we have tried to have a new adopted to that. Lot of changes in terms of the flexibility of choosing subjects and have an option for the youngsters in school. And vocational education is another. Undergraduate education, where we try to bring in the concepts of liberal education so that you have a broader, all-rounded way of coming out as an undergraduate rather than working in silos and learning only limited things, and go for the higher education where you create not only the higher education with better standards, understanding and well-rounded individuals again, but equally importantly to create a research ecosystem which is far better than what today is available in the university system. Coming to this medallion, when you talk of a research system, you try to create a lot of youngsters who are interested in research, pursuit of research. Research can be pure research, by applied research, translational research, research for social and other kinds of requirements. The very fundamental research in which Raman strongly believed produced a Nobel Prize. We want to make sure that research becomes a culture in the university and among the students. Even we have made provision for an undergraduate research program, and at higher education, you certainly can go straight to research after either an undergraduate 4 years or a part of a master's degree. So this is going to strengthen the research ecosystem. The research ecosystem in turn will strengthen the knowledge society. And when youngsters are made to think on their own, be innovative, be original, I think these kind of things will be the natural product of that kind of a thing. The National Research Foundation, which we have recommended, and the government has already announced it, and 50,000 crores have been even announced by the Minister of Education, the Finance Minister, clearly underscores the importance the government attaches. So I am very optimistic that this policy, the government's determination to upgrade every aspect of education and make sure that research will occupy a central place in the higher education, and obviously outcomes like Nobel laureate should become much more commonplace than a rarity. And I hope even in our lifetime, Pallava, you will be able to hold more such medals in the years to come to inspire the youngsters and also to make sure that India is a proud place for many Nobel Prize destinations. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for speaking to us, Dr. Kasturirangan. You're always an inspiration, not just for me. I have grown as a cub reporter with you, but also for the nation. Your many avatars, like I say, has helped India. And I'm sure the education policy and the new curriculum framework you are developing will get us more Nobel Prizes, like you said. Hopefully, in my lifetime, we will see more and I should be able to hold more. Thanks a lot for speaking to us.
Thank you so much for having an opportunity to interact with you, Pallava. You're always very, very incisive, interesting, and certainly come out with something unique in the end. Thank you.
While we celebrate the fact that Dr. C.V. Raman got a Nobel Prize in 1930, but there are concerns. In over 90 years, India has not won another Nobel Prize in science. But with the efforts of Dr. Kasturirangan, from his many avatars and the new education policy, will we get more Nobels is the big question. The framework has been set. Youngsters need to catch the ball and move forward. A new India is emerging, and in this new India, I am definite many Nobel Prizes in science will come India's way. Keep watching India Science.